A few months ago, I made a video essay where I explained that my hyperfixation on Rachel Hollis's type of content stems from a greater overall existential fear that I have that one day the author world and the small business world, and particularly the independent publishing world, which is in a way where the author and small business worlds intersect, that all of those industries will eventually start to adopt multi-level marketing or MLM type of qualities. The main reason I'm afraid of that is that we keep seeing these people who start off with good creative intentions, people who want to tell a story, they want to be creative, they want to express themselves through art, they want to build a small business for themselves, but then find that it's really, really hard to make money in that, and that it's really, really easy to capitalize off of other people's desire to make money in that. In some cases, the way that these MLM parallels come about is through similarities in rhetoric, similarities in worshiping hustle culture, similarities in succumbing to toxic positivity mindsets. But in other cases, these come down to a full-on pyramid, or at least something resembling one. In a lot of cases, you will have someone who wants to be an author and then find that making $3 per self-published book over a period of time where you're struggling to even sell your first 100 is not sustainable in the long term. In a lot of these cases, it's much easier to say, well, now that I have experience with designing a cover, with formatting a book, with completing a book, I should coach others in how to do this. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Let me be clear. There is nothing wrong with coaching if you have expertise. Teaching is a noble goal. I've taught creative writing. I've offered editing services. I have no problem with this. The problem is when that starts to perpetuate itself into a never-ending pyramid. So let's say you now want to sell courses to other people. Fine. But now let's say that someone else wants your expertise on how you sold courses to other people. And next thing you know, you're selling a course on how to sell a course. And now that person is taking your course on how to build a masterclass business or something like that. You're not even writing books anymore. You're selling courses to people who want to sell courses to other people about how to write books. And the tangible product that gets put into the world only happens in, for lack of a better word, the downline. Over time, where does the real product get put out into the world? And let me be extra super clear. I'm not saying that courses aren't valuable. They're valuable to a lot of people. I've taken courses that are valuable to me. I'm saying that a cultural hyperfixation on them is the problem. It's books like the one that I'm going to be reviewing today that start to scare me more and more that this is a path people want to go down. I do not mean that authors out there with good intentions are going to go down this path. I don't think I'm going to go down this path. I have tons of author friends who are dedicated to their craft, who are dedicated to their work, who are dedicated to not just selling a product, but also to telling a story and providing their customers and readers with value. I have complete faith in you guys. I even have authors that I have bought supplemental and informational materials from, including planners and workbooks and things like that, because I do find those materials useful. I always say that one of the most beautiful things about the internet and narrowcasting and the greater boom in technology and the way that it's allowing us to get books out there is that there is no limit on the number of stories that can be told. To an extent, I don't think that oversaturation is a real threat within the book market, because when it comes down to it, books are information. Books are stories that we should be telling, and as humans, we should never limit how many of those there can be out there. But I do sometimes get worried about the message that it's sending about indie authors and about small business owners and people like me who are very passionate about business and about writing books. A lot of the things in this book that I'm going to review today, I don't disagree with on the surface, but when you put them all together in context of what it's saying, it sends a message that I'm a little bit afraid of. I'm really excited to open up a discussion about this today as we discuss AuthorPreneur by Jessie Warren Tevelow.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.
Hey, what's up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy. This is Savvy Writes Books. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel for the first time. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because every Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. Central, I put out new videos about my life as an author and a small business owner, as well as anti-MLM, anti-pyramid scheme type of content. Every Friday morning at 11 a.m. Central, I have a live premiere like this one right here, where we talk in the live chat and hang out, And every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central, I host the AuthorTube Sleepover, where a bunch of us get together, wear our pajamas, eat some snacks, write books. It is such a good time, friends. Before we get too deep into today's content, I have 2 announcements. First of all,
this video was brought to you by my Patreon supporters. Please don't forget to check in the description below, where all my top tier patrons have their websites or YouTube channels or social media pages linked. Go check out all of them because they're awesome small business supporters and you should support them too. Thank you so much, friends.
And my second announcement is that I actually got the idea to do this video from watching a stream that another AuthorTuber was hosting, so I want to give her some credit and give her a shout out, and I will link her channel in the description below, but that is Tamara Woods. She is a fantastic AuthorTuber who regularly hosts writing sprint streams where a bunch of authors get together and write. She's really cool. She's really cool. I highly recommend her channel. So she hosted a live stream where she was discussing this book and some of the themes in it, and when I was hearing about this book, I was like, I kind of have to see it for myself just to see how bad it is. So actually, this comes with another shout out. Shout out to Spence. Spence's channel is linked in the description below. Spence is also an AuthorTuber who regularly comes to my stream, and she writes a lot of books and does that kind of stuff. And when I was like, I kind of want to review this book, but after I've heard about how scammy this book seems, I really don't want any more money going to this author. Spence was on it and was like, I have this book. I don't want it anymore because it sucks, so I'll mail it to you if you want to review it. And so Spence mailed me not just this book, but also like a full care package that included some candy and some journals and notebooks. You guys saw one of them in the video I did where I took Rachel Hollis's course on rebuilding after tragedy. I'll link that video up in the cards, but I showed off one of the journals that Spence gave me there. So Spence, thank you so much. Everyone check out both Tamara and Spence's channels, which I have linked in the description below. They're both awesome. Subscribe to them. Wonderful people. So if you guys have been watching this channel for the past couple months, you probably have seen my new book rating system that I've put up. Today's video isn't going to stick to that system exactly because today's video is kind of a combination book review and anti-MLM and author world discussion video. So really it kind of combines everything that I want this channel to be about. But I'm not going to really focus on like the content and the cover design and all that of the book. I'm not going to be taking it point by point and determining a star rating because I think a larger discussion of the themes in this book is what is important. Overall, I don't think this book was very good. I think it has a bad message overall, although I wouldn't say it's one of the worst books I read. The worst book I read in 2020 is without a doubt Grant Cardone's Be Obsessed or Be Average. I'll link that review up in the cards. But this book, it had some theories and some overall philosophies that I really agree with as a small business owner myself, but then there were also some elements to it where I was like, whoa, stop that. So when I read the About the Author page to learn about the author of this book, Jessie Warren Tevelow, I realized that we were going to be dealing with maybe not quite a Grant Cardone type, but if you guys saw my business guru tier ranking I did last week, maybe someone else a little higher up on a tier than him, maybe not quite a Grant Cardone or a Tony Robbins type, maybe someone a little bit less terrible, I don't know. But here's what it said, and we'll talk about all the red flags that just his About the Author page set off. Jessie Warren Tevelow is a #1 best-selling author, an alumnus of Techstars, and the founder of Launch Team. By challenging the world's assumptions, he aims to bring more meaning, freedom, and happiness to people's lives. Jessie has been featured in various publications including Bloomberg, Entrepreneur, and Forbes, and appeared on popular podcasts that reach millions of listeners. So the red flags to me in there were things like bring more meaning, freedom, and happiness to people's lives. Is there at all a more vague business statement you could possibly have? There is no mission in that. I want to make lives better. Yeah, no shit. Who's gonna put their book out there and be like, my goal is to massively inconvenience people because I enjoy watching suffering of those who aren't me. And then I started actually reading his book, and check out the post-its. I'm gonna ASMR these post-its, y'all. Here, listen to that. I took so many notes. Now, in the past, I've had books with post-its that's like, look how much valuable information was in this. I will want to come back to this. But in this one, it was like, what? I was just in such disbelief that I was like, I can't forget to address this and this and this and this. And oh my God. Oh my God. The first couple chapters, I had post-its on like every page. So the first place that he started setting off not just red flags, but massive red alarm bells, it was just like, wee, like the sirens in my face, right? I was warned. But the beginning of chapter 1, he starts off with the following. The 7-figure side gig. Have you ever felt frustrated with your career, or that you're somehow selling yourself short? Ever wished you could harness your passion and find financial freedom? That's how the book starts. I guess there's an introduction before that where I had one post-it note based on the fact that he said, when I published the connection algorithm, I was a first-time author. I had no clue what I was doing, but somehow it became a #1 bestseller. You don't become a #1 bestseller by accident. You don't. So that set off the red flag to me of like, you know how in multi-level marketing companies and with business guru type of advice by people like the Grant Cardones of the world, where it's like, yesterday I was just like you. I was struggling. I had no idea where I was going, but I listened to the universe and I asked the universe to send me a sign and I manifested my own destiny. And now I'm a multi-million-dollar 7-figure side gig worker. It's the whole thing of drawing you in with that message of, do you want to work from your phone for 2 hours a week and make a full-time income? You never have to leave your house. Work in your pajamas. Get your phone out. Just use your social media. And then once you're in the thick of it and you've sunk some costs and you feel like it's too late to back out, that's when you're hit with, well, you shouldn't have expected it to be easy. This is only for those that truly want it. This is work. Then 2 pages later, he had a quote that I actually loved. Like, I stuck a post-it in just to say how much I loved the quote, but then immediately after it, he ruined the quote in the very next sentence, so then I had to add on to the post-it how he then ruined the quote. Here we go. We now live in a world that favors content creators over gatekeepers. And I was like, mic drop, dude. Maybe I was wrong about you. Maybe this book is gonna slap. This sounds great. Because we now live in a world that favors content creators over gatekeepers. That's what I've been saying. I'll link it up in the cards. I did this whole long-ass video essay about narrowcasting where I talked about how nowadays with the internet and with connections to each other, we can all build our own target audiences and we don't have to rely on a corporation. Just in videos last week and earlier this week, I've been talking about how society has progressed beyond the need for big 5 publishing corporations and how I, as a small business owner, want to read small press, want to read indie, want to take all the big companies down because gatekeeping helps no one when we all have an audience we could be reaching. So I was like, dude, that's everything I stand for. I didn't think I was going to like something you said. And then immediately after, he hits me with this. Here's the deal. If you're entrepreneurial and hardworking, you can use books to earn meaningful passive income. Excuse me? First of all, the word passive income is always a red flag to me. Now, let me be clear. I've had a lot of people say, okay, but passive income can actually be a thing. And that's true. That's true. There is passive income, often in the form of investments. So if you buy stock, if you invest and your stocks increase, you don't have to do anything. So, I mean, sometimes you might monitor the market. You might try to find the right times to sell. But in a lot of cases, if you just invest in like a mutual fund, you could just like leave that for 10 years. Books are not a way to earn passive income. As someone who writes books, I am savvy writes books. And I guess you could say you earn passive income on books by once it's written, you don't have to write a new one every time you sell a book. You can sell multiple copies. Therefore, you did but the work you're doing is constant. Like, I'm constantly working on marketing and advertising. Like, just because, like, if you work in a store, you don't have to physically build all the products in your store, but it's not passive income to sell them because you're constantly making sales. So I'm not a huge believer in passive income. I think there are few times when income can truly be passive, but books, I don't think are one of them. Then on page 11, I realized that I'm just not this book's target audience when he said, this book is not for authors. Let me set the record straight. If you want to become the next J.K. Rowling, you're in the wrong place. Then I thought maybe I am in the right place, because I don't want to be anything like J.K. Rowling, because she's a fucking TERF. But then he goes on to say, this book is not for aspiring authors in the traditional sense. So I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm an author in the traditional sense, because, you know, I run Forever Home Friends, that's my small business, making children's books, stuffed animals, and toys based on real rescue dogs.
Link in the description below.
And that isn't really being a traditional author, because I guess, you know, if I were to get these books out into the world traditionally, I wouldn't have created an entire business model. I wouldn't be producing all the toys that go along with it. I wouldn't be 3D modeling the accessories and printing them and painting them myself. I wouldn't be illustrating books and finding printers for the books and doing all the formatting on the books. I wouldn't be doing all the marketing and registering my LLC. I probably could have written a manuscript and pitched it to a publisher, but I didn't want to for that, because I wanted to create my own entire business model where I have, you know, 10% of profits goes to animal shelters. Other than that, we're registered as an LLC. Like, I wanted this to all be my own branding. So I guess I'm not an author in the traditional sense, and I don't want to be like J.K. Rowling's turf ass, so let's continue. Very next page, I put a little post-it note that says MLM element. Listen to this. So this whole first chapter is him trying to convince you why you should write a book. He's trying to talk about why writing a book will enhance your business and your life. So he says, the democratization of production and distribution afforded by the internet is a double-edged sword. While it provides tremendous opportunity to a much broader swath of society, it also creates a crapload of noise. Google how to publish a book and you'll find a dense spiderweb of fragmented, lousy, and downright incorrect information. That's because publishing a book isn't easy. Lucky for you, I've been through the entire process and experienced a high degree of success. In fact, my company performs strategic book launches for people just like you, and we've perfected our systems over time. I've taken it a step further by conducting interviews with respected experts, including publishers, marketers, and #1 best-selling authors. So I'm here to give you everything you need, all in a completed package. Does that sound like MLM recruitment to you? Because that sounds 1,000% like MLM recruitment for me. First of all, when I was mentioning an oversaturated market earlier, I don't think the market for books in general will ever be oversaturated, because we never are going to reach our limit on wanting new information and new stories. At least I don't. So in that sense, it's not quite oversaturated in the same way. However, why are you trying to recruit authors into your downline? It's like this dude writes a book every once in a while, but the main thing he sells is a company that helps you launch your book. So if there's then a company that he outsources work to that helps him run his company, that helps you publish your book, like he's recruiting authors into his author downline. Does that make sense? At least that's kind of what it sounds like here. Plus also he had a very obvious plug for his own company. Like, I put obvious plugs for my company in my YouTube videos, very obvious. Here's one right now. Look in the description below. You'll find a link to my business, foreverhomefriends.com. 10% of profits benefit animal shelters. And then also you'll find links to all of my books, including my novels, One Final Vinyl, Sculpt Yourself, and Beauty King, along with my business self-help book, #SavvyBusinessOwner, which is way better than this book. I do that too, but I'm not charging you for that, and I am not selling you a course, and I'm not charging you to be your I think it's different. I'm not trying to recruit you in a way that I will make money off of you, as well as wanting to invest in watching you succeed. Now, it's not quite an MLM structure. Let me be clear. This is not quite a downline in the sense that if you hired this dude's company and you succeeded, he wouldn't be taking a percentage of your book sale. At least I hope he's not. I don't actually know how his company works. Some publishers are like that, and that scares me too, but that's a topic for a different day. My goal is to help you get rich from writing. Good luck with that. So over here, there's a lot of rhetoric that I've seen that's similar to a lot of business gurus and MLMers, which is, you don't have to go to college to be successful. We've progressed beyond the need for college, which is not true. I mean, it is true that you don't have to go to college to be successful. If you want to enter some kind of trade, or you want to enter some kind of field that requires a different kind of certificate, or that doesn't require a specific degree but requires on-the-job training or something, that's totally valid and that's totally different. But what's a problem to me is when people talk about how college is useless because you can learn everything from my books and my courses, which is what a lot of business gurus, this dude included, do. Here we go. Why writing a book is the new PhD. Well, it depends what you're talking about a PhD in, because I can tell you, from watching dudes like Tony Robbins and Dr. Z from the Unwell Netflix documentary, writing a book does not make you a doctor. Writing a book does not make you eligible to diagnose people with mental illnesses and physical illnesses and drop essential oils into their mouths. Now, I know when he says PhD, he doesn't necessarily mean like a medical doctor type of PhD. But the fact is, a PhD is a certificate that you have completed official courses and have reached an official level in that. Writing a book is great, and I highly encourage it, and maybe you are an expert in a field without having a PhD. I don't think a PhD is necessary for everything you want to do. But writing a book is not a PhD. That's a weird statement to draw. So anyway, here's what he says. There's a big problem brewing. People all over the country and the world are finally starting to realize, at the core, universities are no longer higher learning institutions. First and foremost, they're businesses. This means they want to bring in as many students through their doors as possible. For centuries, they've quietly whispered their battle cry into our ears. You must attend college to succeed. It's a brilliant marketing message, and it works. Affluent people tend to obey the command. In fact, it's been so ingrained in our culture that our parents reinforced the unwritten rule when we were growing up. If you were like me, you went to college and accumulated debt because it was branded as the common sense choice. I'm sure you know what comes next. Immediately after tossing your graduation cap into the air, the real world punched you in the face. You quickly came to realize that your shiny frame degree was practically worthless. It's a commodity. It's expected. Fast forward to today. Now you're in debt, but you have no competitive advantage. You're screwed like everyone else. Go sit in your cubicle and shuffle papers until it's time to head home. Eventually you'll get promoted. Maybe. Yeah, this situation sucks. You might even feel like it's unacceptable. Is there a way out? How can you gain leverage? How can you differentiate yourself? More importantly, how can you live a life of purpose? What? That whole section sounded like the MLM manipulation, right? How many times, for those of you who are in the anti-MLM world or who have been part of a multi-level marketing company or have had someone try to recruit you, how many times do you hear, have fun at your 9-to-5 job getting nowhere while I can rise the ranks and make as much money as I want? How many times have you heard that? How many times have you heard going to college was useless? That was $100,000 investment when really all you needed to invest was $299 to join my Herbalife team. How many times have we heard stuff like that? I've even had fans of Grant Cardone in my comment section on videos I've made criticizing him being like, yeah, well, you have fun working your 9-to-5 job and getting nowhere. I'm going to follow Uncle G, Mr. Grant Cardone, and together he is going to show me how to become an entrepreneur, and I'm already making and I'm like, bitch, I'm a business owner. Did you even listen to the video? I don't work 9-to-5. I already own my own business. Anyway, a lot of that sounded like what we were getting in this, and it was scaring me because the rhetoric was so similar. There was such a parallel to, let me tell you why everything you thought about how to get ahead in this world is wrong, and why reading my book and ultimately buying my course and signing up for my services will get you rich way faster than a stupid college degree. Let me reiterate, college is not for everyone. You do not have to go to college, but don't let someone who's clearly trying to sell you something sell you on the idea that college is useless. Because it's not useless. College is not useless. Is it overpriced? Absolutely. Do we need a much better student loan system in this country? 1,000% yes. Do we have economic troubles that are making college really difficult to be accessible to a lot of people? 1,000%. I am happy to have those discussions anytime you want. This is not it, though. Then over here he says, simply put, writing books is no longer just for authors. Pretty sure if you write a book, you become an author. And then he says there are 5 main reasons why writing a book is one of the easiest ways to get started along the path of entrepreneurship. Hard disagree. Writing a book is not easy. I highly recommend doing it. It's a lot of fun. And if you've watched any of the videos on my channel, I've tried to provide people with tips along the way. It's not an easy process. That's a lie. So then he has 5 things to tell us. Number 3 will shock you. 1, writing and publishing a book is exactly like running a startup. I agree. I run a startup. I write books. I write books that are part of running the startup. A lot of the knowledge crosses over. 2, publishing a book requires almost no capital. True. Yes, I would say that. If you read #SavvyBusinessOwner, I have a section in there where I talk about how even if you have no money and you want to start your business, or if you want to write a book, there are ways that you can look to save money or to spend no money at all, whether that's through bartering with someone, trading one skill for another with someone else in your community, hiring someone who is a student and is working at a cheaper price. Really depends on the situation and the specifics of it, but he's correct about that. Number 3. You don't need any skills except the knowledge you already possess. Author friends, do you think writing a book takes skill? I would say it 1000% takes skill. You gotta know how to write. A lot of us can put sentences together, but writing is more than just, here are some words. I am going to put them on a paper, or I'm going to put them on a file. There are words. I have written a book. Your book should be informative. It should be interesting. It should be engaging. You should have a variety of different types of sentences. You should have interesting hooks at the beginning of things. And let me tell you, the fact that this dude thinks writing a book takes no skills, it shows, dude, because this book was boring as shit. Like, I put in all these post-its, like, I was looking forward to the next moment that made me mad and made me want to fly off the handle, because honestly, I was so bored trying to get through this. I was like, please just make me angry again. I want to feel something. I want to remember that I'm alive. Maybe writing a book takes no skills if you want to write a book that sucks. So then he has a chapter. I did one more page that had stuff I agreed with, where he was talking about some of the benefits to self-publishing and independent publishing, and why in a lot of cases traditional publishing isn't necessary or isn't going to help you in that much more of a way. And I agreed with a lot of the points that he made here. So, like, publishers won't help you market your book. They want you to have your own following. Most publishers will take a huge chunk of your profits, sometimes up to 95%. If you're not already a best-selling author, you'll get a very small advance, a few $1,000s if you're lucky. It can take years for your book to actually get released. I agree with all of those things. I personally do think that self-publishing, independent publishing, publishing with a small press, publishing with your own capital, all of those things I do think tend to make for better business. Like, if you want to make writing books into your business, or if you want to make producing books into your business, it's faster and it's an easier, more direct connection with your market. So I agree with all of those points. But I think that was the last thing I agreed with in this book. When we get into some more of his tangible advice later on in the book, here's what he talks about. So he gives a basic rundown about how to write a book, as if writing all books could be condensed into, here are some ways to write a book if you've never even thought about it before. If you've never thought about writing a book, but within the next 2 months you want to be a #1 bestseller on Amazon, which has over 30 million books on it, then here's how to write one. It's about as likely as climbing to the top of the pyramid, friends. So he gives some basic advice on how to write a book, and then he talks about this. Finally, transfer it into a manuscript document and order the sections, blah, blah, blah. If you're not too keen on the act of putting pen to paper, don't fret. We live in amazing times. Here are options for dictating your book instead of writing it. And then he spends the whole rest of the chapter going into detail about if you don't actually like writing, which is fine. Let me give a disclaimer real quick right there. I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't think that if you want to be a writer that you have to physically write with your hand or that you have to type at the computer. I especially acknowledge that, like, that would be a really ableist thing to think, because, you know, I have friends who are blind. I have friends who have various physical disabilities. And for some people, dictating a book out loud while speaking it is a much more, like, accessible way to do that. And that's totally fine, because you're still coming up with all the words yourself. Like, it's the same act, it's just not with your fingers physically. And that is totally fine. My problem is that a whole section in this book is dedicated to, so if you don't really want to write a book, let me go into about all the ways you can avoid actually typing words, which is weird to me. That's just so weird, especially because then he spends all of these pages talking about this system called Book in a Box, which is where you dictate an outline, and I don't even remember half of what it does because it's boring as shit. And then at the end, he says, full disclosure, I have an affiliate partnership with Book in a Box. If you want to use their services, mention my full name. So he just, like, spends all this time in the book talking about something that he's sponsored by. So Cool plug, bro. This page, I put a post-it that just said, yeah, I can tell. Because here's what he wrote. Some of my favorite authors include Tim Ferriss, Malcolm Gladwell, James Altucher, Taylor Pearson, Ben Horowitz, Brad Feld, Fred Wilson, Leo Babauta, and the Minimalists. I was just shocked that Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins weren't on there too. Note to self, I need to read more female authors. That's really not hard. Women make up about 50% of the population. And you're like, I should read more female authors. It's not hard. You're about as likely to find a book written by a woman as you are by a man. Maybe you're looking in the wrong places, Jesse. In fact, Jesse, if you're watching this video, you can pick up hashtag Savvy Business Owner, linked in the description below. See, I can promote myself too. Have you guys ever seen those like boomer humor comics where they're like some kind of shitty comic that's just basically like something that someone who's, you know, from the baby boomer generation would have written that is just very out of touch with the way people in the under 40 demographic tend to think? For example, I remember I saw this comic that was like, the dad's reading, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, and the little kid's like, why weren't they fetching Pokemon creatures? Things like that. Those comics, I was reminded of a parody of one of those comics when I was reading this, okay? So there's all these comics where the kid comes in and it'll be like, Dad, what's this? And the dad will be holding a book and he'll be like, it's like tweets only on paper. And it's like, whoa, kids today don't know what books are, which is a lie. Like, have you ever been to Booktube? This whole book just made me think of this parody of a comic where a dad is like, I hate my wife. And the son is holding a book and is like, Father, I cannot click the book. Because that's how I felt when I was reading this. This book was made to be an ebook, and then he even talks about in here how, like, if you write an ebook, you should also just put it in paperback because it lends credibility. So when I was reading this in paperback, I was like, you really made no effort to make this not an ebook, did you? Because this thing is full of links. He's like, click here if you want to go to this thing. Click here if you want to see more of this resource. And I was like, I cannot click the book. Finally, let's just talk about how he insults the indie authors everywhere who have put hard work, who have put our blood, sweat, and tears into building our brands and trying to get our stories that have a meaning to our heart and soul out there by talking about how most self-published authors don't do this or this. Most of them don't, the majority of them don't do this cool thing that I know how to do. Here we go. The importance of design and marketing can't be understated, yet most self-published authors neglect it. Have you seen some of the reviews I've done of self-published and indie books? And did you see my Kickstarter book haul? Did you see my AuthorTuber book haul? Like, got some gorgeous ass covers. I'll pop some of them up on the screen. Where did you get that most self-published authors ignore this? Most? You could say some. Sure, I believe that some ignore it. But where did you get the statistic that most? That over 50%? Do you have a source for that? Girl, back that statement up. Design is one of the few areas where traditional publishers still have an edge over self-publishers, but that's only because the majority of self-published authors don't spend the time or money investing in good design. Care to give me a source? Because I would say the vast majority of authors I've read, including self-published authors, put a ton of effort into their design. Here's some gorgeous ass covers, again, for good measure. Then the last two post-its I have in this book just say, cool ad, bro, and cool promo, bro, because this dude cannot stop advertising himself for 5 seconds. So throughout the book, he puts in these things called inspiration breaks. And in the inspiration break, what he does is tells the story of a different business owner who used writing a book to their advantage in their success story. But he never can resist from mentioning how his own company helped make that successful book a reality. The really cool part about this is that Katie worked with Launch Team in various capacities after her launch, helping others achieve similar results with their books. Wait. So Katie wrote this book called The Phoenix Projects. Katie worked with Launch Team to get her book out there. And then after that, Katie decided to also offer these services to other authors. So, let me be clear. Jesse, you are up here. You help multiple people, including Katie, Katie then decides that she's also going to help multiple people with these books. What do we call this shape? What do we call this shape? Katie said, working with Jesse and Simon at Launch Team for my first book was one of the best choices I made during the launch. They invested their time and energy into my story coming into the world as if it was their own. They break down the overwhelming launch process into easy, doable steps and offer guidance and coaching where I needed their advice or had questions. They are extremely influential in my book hitting #1 in my desired category and additional top categories on Amazon. Their expertise was so valuable and they run their business with kindness and integrity. Their encouragement and professionalism were much needed during first-time author journey and I look forward to working with them in the future. Cool ad, bro! Want to launch your own book? You can join the free AuthorPreneur companion course to download our launch materials and learn more about our process. Here's a link for it. But Jesse, I cannot click the book. Here's what Barry Pruitt, our main contact from Rhythm Systems, had to say about the project. Wow, confusion, anxiety, 9 authors and 2 stakeholders is the main author contact. I found that things changed often on our end, but Jesse, Simon, and the team handled us masterfully. We advise our clients to trust the process because it's been proven over and over. When Launch Team told me to trust the process, I had to laugh at myself. I felt exactly what my new clients feel. Launch Team was not only empathetic, but we're right, their process works. Cool ad, bro! Also, trust the process is such like a pyramid scheme thing to say. So have you guys read this book? What were your thoughts on this book? Please let me know in the comments below. This book scares me. You want to write a book? I'll help you write a book. I'll also teach you how to help other people write a book. And then you can teach them how to also help other people write a book. And then they can also teach other people how to write a book on top of that. And the next thing you know, we've got a 12-level downline before an actual book goes out into the world. Cool ad, bro. Hey, Editing Savvy here. I just realized that the outro I recorded on this video doesn't have audio. Why? I don't know, because I definitely recorded the audio, but it's just like within the same clip it cut out. So here's my outro, friends. Please check the links in the description below because all of the people that I shouted out, you know, Spence and Tamara, like, check out their channels. They're both really, really awesome writers and really awesome people, so I really want to make sure that you guys check them out and give them some love as well. I will see you all again, actually, pretty soon after this video. If you head over to my friend RK Gold's channel, he and I are going to be live streaming right after this premiere at 12:30 Central, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be live streaming over there and writing a novel in front of you, so if that's something you're interested in, please come over and say hi. But otherwise, I'll see you again on Monday. In the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses. Have a good Friday, friends.
Hit you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.